Donald Trump's grievance has been more outlandish and out of control than ever recently, and it's being directed in some pretty strange ways. Just today, during his interview with the Chicago Economic Club, we saw Donald Trump decide to attack President Obama, Governor Gavin Newsom, and auto workers for some reason. But the craziest attack that we've seen Donald Trump levy in the past couple of days, and it's pretty consistent, is against the Fox propaganda network for some reason. Yes, Donald Trump is attacking Fox in a nonstop campaign of anger, and it's for two main reasons. And those reasons are named Ian Sams and Jessica Tarlov, or Jessica Tarlov, as Donald Trump would like to say. Now, Ian, a senior advisor to the Kamala Harris campaign, has been making regular appearances on Fox lately, but of course, we know Jessica is always bringing the truth to the five, but they are equally upsetting Donald Trump, and he is melting down because of it. And so before we get into Jessica's incredible takedown of Martha Maccallum, I think it is important that we check out Ian doing the same, because he kind of set the table for her in such a perfect way that's driving Donald Trump crazy. And we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video and to hit that subscribe button, it goes a long way in supporting this channel and really means the world to me. Now let's get into this first clip of Ian Sams.
Can I make one point about men? Because I think you raised something. I think that if you're a man, you're not afraid to put out your medical records. If Donald Trump was a real man, he'd put out his medical records. And so I think he shouldn't be afraid to show the country his health and mental and physical fitness before this election. It's something we've been talking about for the last few days. And if he's watching, I hope he understands the importance of telling the American people whether you're up to the job by showing your health information and showing whether you can be fit.
Well, maybe Harris will ask him about it. We haven't heard that being a major issue from voters.
I love this messaging out of the Kamala Harris campaign, and Ian is doing such a great job delivering it. Donald Trump is scared to put his medical records out there. Donald Trump is scared to debate. Donald Trump is scared to interview. Donald Trump is hiding. These are the accusations that his campaign tries to make against Kamala Harris for some reason. We saw them try to make them against President Biden, but they're really just projection, because it's true about Donald Trump. And the mainstream media refuses to do their job and cover Donald Trump's cognitive decline. So I am glad that Kamala Harris and all of her surrogates are setting the table, setting the agenda of what we should be talking about. Because after Donald Trump's horrible performance today at the Chicago Economic Club and his insane dance party, essentially is what it was last night during his town hall when he was just bopping around on stage, listening to his favorite songs like a deranged individual, we need to be talking about this more. And Ian continued to bring that up. So before we get into Jessica, I want to hear more of what he had to say.
The longer she talks about her ideas, including her economic ideas for the middle class, I think that she's growing that support every single day. I'm looking forward to Harris's
you must acknowledge, Ian, that when you look at where she's going and where she's doing campaign interviews right now. She's talking to Charlamagne the God. She just sat down with Roland Martin. She's losing men, and there's an effort, we have heard, to get on Joe Rogan as well. So, I mean, when you look at where a candidate is going, it's clear where they think they need ground to make up, right?
I totally hear that. And you see Donald Trump spending all his time on bro podcasts. And so I think that the question is he losing male support that he doesn't necessarily have if he's spending all that time talking to male comedians on podcasts, or coming into conservative media and only talking to male anchors?
All right, so you're saying it's not happening. We'll see, but she's clearly spending a lot of time trying to reach those male voters.
A perfect shutdown of a nonsense talking point. Really, it's Kamala Harris who doesn't want to do enough interviews, or she's doing the wrong interviews. Fox can never make up their mind over what they want. It's always just trying to attack Kamala Harris for these nonsense reasons. First, it's not enough, then it's too many, then it's not the right. But what they're not talking about is how Donald Trump is canceling all of his interviews. No 60 Minutes, no CNBC, and it seems like he's even scared to go on Fox anymore. Yeah, even the Fox propaganda outlet Donald Trump continues to mess up on, and that is why his campaign is in such dire straits. Exactly what Jessica Tarlov was talking about in this great takedown right here.
These are issues that affect all Americans.
I think that people are tired of hearing about themselves as voters in boxes.
Yes.
And I think that is why, people just are sort of repelled by it. And when you ask, and I have asked former President Trump about women voters, he says, I think they like a good economy just as much as everybody else.
Yeah, but they don't like him. He has a historic gender gap. I mean, Republicans typically don't do as well with women. This is beyond anything we've seen before. And you say he doesn't talk to people like they're in boxes. Roll the tape of him talking to Jews and how he says this is going to be your fault if I lose. creating a dual identity, a dual loyalty issue for us. If you support Israel, you can't possibly vote for the Democrats. Calling Doug Emhoff a crappy Jew.
Well, isn't that what Biden did when he said, if you don't support me, you ain't black?
First of all, Joe Biden is not on this ticket. And that's the thing. This is a completely different race.
Trump has not only a Jewish daughter, but a Jewish son-in-law and Jewish grandchildren.
Is that like I have one.
That's pretty. I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think it's kind of relevant to the conversation.
Really? You just said identity politics doesn't work, and Donald Trump stands up there and he said,
identity politics.
Yeah, really, people do not want to be siloed into
you
boxes.
You can also ask
talking
whether or not
to
that's a
Jews
foreign
like
policy issue. You know, it's a question of whether or not you support it.
As a Jew, we heard him loud and clear about this, and he has lost support from a lot of Jewish donors over the way that he talks about Jewish people and how we have a dual loyalty.
Hasn't he gained Jewish support over?
I'm talking about some of the big donors. Yes, some. I mean, we'll see how it pans out. She's actually running neck and neck where Biden was with it, but.
I think Jessica deserves a medal or a trophy, or maybe we can make like a small statue of her for the type of nonsense that she has to put up with from her co-host every single day. But as always, doing an incredible job of calling it out and talking about the very clear gender gap that Donald Trump is struggling with during this election for a myriad of reasons. But Jessica is right. Donald Trump is losing. Donald Trump is trailing. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be working hard every single day, but it is him who the burden of proof of not being insane is on. The mainstream media wants to say that Kamala Harris needs to show her policies. She is. Donald Trump isn't. He won't even interview. And that's why we need to continue to call out the lies that he is pushing and the conspiracies and fear-mongering always coming out of him. And one of those very specific conspiracies, one of the very specific bits of fear-mongering is Donald Trump talking about the enemies from within lately, a talking point that was tried to be defended by a Republican Trump stooge on CNN, but he was shut down, and I want to take a look at that.
You are a decorated veteran. How would you feel about deploying against Adam Schiff?
Well, I don't think that's what he said, John. I think you're connecting some dots there. But I mean, what he's talking about, if you just roll the tape back to 2020, you had Portland, a courthouse under sustained assault, federal officers repeatedly injured. You had riots across America, even in the run-up. After the election, the run-up to the inauguration, you had Antifa talking about descending on Washington, D.C. and businesses boarding up their storefronts. Even go back to Lafayette Square, over 50 police officers injured, sent to the hospital because of the assault of the protesters. So I think that's completely appropriate. The National Guard was rolled out then. President Trump asked for 10,000 guardsmen to be on standby. The mayor of D.C. whittled that down and only asked for 300. We cannot have, nor should we have, riots in the streets, business owners threatened, and Americans feeling unsafe. In terms of Schiff, look, there is a long and clear record. He leaked from the SCIF.
But you're not suggesting deploying military against him. Do you want to deploy military against Adam Schiff?
No.
And do you think that discussions about?
But when he's talking about broadly,
do you think, Congressman, do you think deploying military do you think deploying the military against political opponents is something that is responsible to discuss from political candidates?
I think it's responsible to discuss deploying the National Guard, which is clearly part of the military, John, to keep our streets safe, to keep rioters out of the street. Everyone is welcome to protest peacefully, but when it exceeds that into violence, as it did many times in 2020, then the National Guard was deployed and should be deployed. And that has happened in a bipartisan way across many administrations. Separately, when you have senior members of the Intelligence Committee lying and leaking from compartmented hearings, when you have them lying to the public in an open hearing, that is detrimental to our republic, to our democracy, and public trust in our institutions. And that's what he was talking about, and that is not good for the country.
Well, again, he called Adam Schiff a lunatic, and specifically was talking about lunatics or the military should be deployed against them.
People are on this network calling Trump Hitler and the next coming of another dictator, and two people have tried to kill him. We have the Iranians trying to kill him, a foreign adversary trying to assassinate him, and we're talking about him playing music in a rally. I mean,
I do understand.
I
do understand you have talked about some of the rhetoric that's been at play here, and we could talk about Mark Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. But you yourself sometimes use heated rhetoric. You did an interview with Newsmax where you're talking about socialists, seeming to refer to Vice President Harris as a socialist. So these phrases do get tossed around.
Socialism is a longstanding political ideology. That's very different than saying someone is going to be the world's most god-awful dictator and Hitler.
These people are just as bad as Donald Trump because they are spineless cowards who will do whatever he says. They will follow his orders, and that is how history will remember them. And we'll have to continue to call them out every single day, and we're going to be doing that on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments or just say hi so I can thank you for your support. Until next time, I'll see you soon.